Bill Lang is the Executive Director of Small Business Australia. He has over 30 years' experience in building better businesses across a range of industries and countries. Bill's experience includes working at top-tier consulting firms and in his own businesses, which serve clients operating in over 50 countries. Bill is the creator of the business improvement system, Scores on the Board, and the host of the business education TV series, Your Business Network. And for the last 20 years, Bill has leveraged his small and international business experience through his group of companies to help business owners and their leaders achieve their goals to achieve more success with less stress. Welcome, Bill.
G'day, Michael. Good to see you.
Now, small business in the current climate with COVID, how are they faring?
Look, it varies depending upon the type of the business, so the industry that they're in, the size of the business, particularly in terms of what financial resources that they had before the pandemic. The location of the business makes a big difference, and also the industry that they're in. Now, there are some small businesses that are traveling very well. They're in the IT area. The need for more IT, more business processes being digital is driving up demand. In fact, many of them can't find enough employees or contractors to deliver the services. So they're doing pretty well. But, if you're a business in the CBD of Melbourne, in retail or hospitality or business services, maybe you run a recruitment company in the CBD of Melbourne. If you're a hospitality or a visitor economy accommodation business, events business on the Murray River or in far north Queensland or the northern coast of Western Australia, you're really suffering. So it does very much vary on that. But one of the things, Michael, a lot of people don't really appreciate, if we take the state of Victoria as an example, it's about 600,000, registered businesses that operate in the state of Victoria. And the overwhelming majority of people that they work for themselves, they're self-employed, they have their own business and they have bosses. Their bosses are called customers. So without their customers, they don't earn an income. And they have been severely hit in Victoria by the combination of the longest and harshest lockdowns, not being able to legally actually operate, and then the lowest amount of financial support that, in fact, many of them have not been eligible to get, and for very good reasons they haven't been able to get it, in that they haven't been registered for things like GST, which many of these small businesses aren't. Yet the governments, both federal and state, have come up with, supposedly support packages that demonstrate no understanding of how most small businesses actually operate and structure themselves, which means they've been ineligible for them. So particularly a number of smaller ones, particularly in the state of Victoria, many have closed and closed for good. Many are on the verge of closing for good if things don't get opened up very quickly. It's been a terrible, terrible time in terms of how these small business people and their families have been treated.
Yeah. Now, over 600,000 businesses be employing between 0 and 19 to qualify them as a small business. So that's a lot of people in Victoria. While the government keeps coming out and talking about roadmaps out, the Minister for Small Business, Pulford and Pakula, the jobs, they seem to be missing. Now, Andrews runs a very tight ship as far as media and spin. Don't you think that we should be seeing those people front and centre with a roadmap that actually includes small businesses?
Look, I don't think there's any doubt about that. You're a small business owner and operator yourself. You've built up a successful health and fitness business. You've been able to have people work in that business in a very legal way as independent contractors and work hard. And yet, your business and those people have been unable to operate for more than a couple of hundred days. And it's like, where is the Minister for Small Business? Where is the Minister for the Economy? We're not seeing them anywhere come out. In fact, I think I heard something from the Minister for Small Business getting stuck into the city of Yarra, where our offices happen to be located, because the city of Yarra now is going to charge the businesses here $5,000 for each of the car parks on the side of the street that they use to be able to serve people outdoors when they're allowed to open up. So the so-called roadmap, it's not really a roadmap. There's no clear destination. There's a lack of hope and confidence. The government keeps saying, well, things could change and, an abundance of caution. All of those sorts of things. So a lot of hope is not there. You get the local government, the city of Yarra, imposing, these $5,000 per car park. There's one just up the road in Smith Street. They've got 3 car parks. That's $15,000 and the business hasn't been able to trade for over a couple of hundred days in the last 18 months. So they're so out of touch. And, all of a sudden the Minister for Small Business pops up and gets stuck into the city of Yarra about that. But it's like, where have you been? Like you're literally hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars underdone on a comparative basis to the support provided by the New South Wales government, to their businesses with respect to their long lockdown, which has sort of been lockdown number 2. We're now, I think, into the 80th odd day of lockdown 6 in Victoria, and particularly Melbourne, and it was going to be a 1-week lockdown. So they're missing in action. Sadly, I think, Michael, it just appears that a lot of things are being covered up under the cover of COVID and the public health advice. But you talk to any small business family, so 600,000 odd, small businesses, 1.4 million Victorians depend upon their personal income as owners or employees or subcontractors into those small businesses. They know what's happened. They know what the impact is. They're going to become much more politically active than what they ever have been before. And across the board, there'll be nowhere to hide for these politicians that have gone missing under the cover of COVID.
Now, under the regulatory framework and hoops that we have to jump through as small businesses, does Victoria need a statewide regulatory body apart from ASIC? Because I have personal experience now going through VCAT, being awarded a judgment, a large judgment, having it registered in the magistrate's court, having to drag ASIC kicking and screaming to actually address the director's behaviour as they continue to trade. One's I'll try and restrain myself, but an unscrupulous property developer, and the other two have popped up. One now runs a construction company, and the other one has phoenixed or allegedly phoenixed a gym in the same position, and another director has opened up his own gym, all while owing me this money. And ASIC are very keen to hold us to regulations, but they don't seem to want to enforce it when it comes to the little operators like myself. Is that your experience, Bill?
Michael, very sadly, your story and your tale is one that's been experienced by tens of thousands of honest, ethical, law-abiding small business owners and operators that have created something. Sadly, in all walks of life, there's a very small proportion of people that don't care. They operate illegally, they operate unethically, and they actually don't care what the impacts are. We have a member of Small Business Australia, someone had fitted out a indoor playground type business, several $100,000 to buy the franchise and get it all fitted out. Told by their particular state government they couldn't trade. The lease with the landlord in this scenario was written before the pandemic. No clauses in the lease to come up with a fair solution in that scenario. It was a good location. The landlord, just insisted upon claiming that back because rent wasn't paid. And in this case, the state governments have been left wanting. Like, where have they been? Where was the fair, simple apportionment and adjustment? It's taken, more than sort of 16 months to have something happen on the rent side of things. But you've got, rulers, love rules. And the stronger the ruler, the more rules there are. And the rule makers work on putting the rules. But where is the support to actually enforce them? And in the situation that you've experienced with your business and that many others have experienced, it should be like an instantaneous thing. Those individuals should not get the protection of the corporate cloud. They should not be allowed to incorporate other businesses. It should be public information that they shouldn't be allowed to borrow money. They should lose their credit rating. Like, these are the people, that give business and small business a bad name because they screw customers and they screw small business suppliers and small business customers.
Yeah, I've been contacted by 13 separate people that these ratbags have done the same thing to over and over again. And it wasn't until I presented 200 pages to ASIC of documentation that they've actually decided to take action now and follow it up. Now, let's finish with something positive here, Bill. Firstly, you've stated before, there's only 45,000 people needed to change the government in the right locations should they feel unhappy, which is something. Something that astounds me is the government needs to realise it's our money that they have, and to support us with our money, they're not doing us any real favours. But we know, I love the saying that innovation happens within constraints. What are some of the good things or great things that you've seen come out of this current climate of really strict constraints that businesses could look to?
Yeah, look, and there's no one more resilient more persistent and more creative in finding ideas, solutions, trying them, giving them a go than small business owners. So again, in terms of, the jargon's pivoting. It's, oh, I've pivoted, I'm now working from home and got used to doing that. And, in terms of what small business owners are doing, whether it's moving much more into, the direct delivery of things, not relying upon the big tech platforms. So you've got people like, Shane DeLear and other, restaurateurs that normally, you go to the restaurant and you have a fine dining experience, but the existing sort of delivery platforms were, absolutely excessive. In some cases, unbelievable what they would charge businesses for delivery. So, Shane and others got together and created a new business to be able to deliver, pre-made and sort of fine dining meal kits ready to go, and now expanded from Melbourne, into Sydney. So that's an example of getting into a whole new area for guys that are, fundamentally, in the hospitality, restaurant, chef-related industries. Another really great example, an entrepreneur that we've been working with, a food technologist who, created the world's first meat-free party pies and sausage rolls that can be eaten by people that have any number of allergies to meat-related products. Now, Emma White's her name, and the name of the company is the Y Meat Company. She was able to create this, keep a food manufacturing business that used to make food for events. So with all the events cancelled in Victoria, that business on the verge of going out of business, they were able to retool, come up with Y Meat Company sausage rolls, and then Emma was able to get them distributed when she launched the product in Woolworths all around the country. So, there are people out there in that small business community that are finding unmet needs, that are having a go at it, that are finding a way. Many small business owners, to the extent they've had excess savings, have been saving it up. They're waiting for some more certainty around how they will rebound. They've kept in touch with their customers, so they're going to be well positioned to welcome their customers back. And of course, the small business owners that have had to close and close permanently, there will be opportunities for them in employment. I've never come across a business that's not looking for reliable, motivated people that will deliver results and contribute to the business. And of course, other opportunities will come up for them with respect to other ideas that they come up with or gaps that they see in the market as they go forward. But we need to get everything open, not just in terms of being open for business, but the governments need to be open with us with all the information to rebuild some confidence to demonstrate to us that, the choices that they've made have been from a range of different options, as opposed to hearing we have no choice, we can't recall. The people that couldn't recall last year are still the same people running the show now. So, sort of selective amnesia. If it was, temporary dementia, so be it. But is it permanent dementia? Why are they still in charge now, Michael?
Yeah, the Coates inquiry that has now finally resulted in 58 charges of the Workplace Safety Act that actually saw people die would have seen business owners go to jail, and the government now is going to write a cheque to the Workplace Safety if they're found guilty, $94 million in fines, and that Workplace Safety organisation will then hand it back to the government. It's a joke between that and the rat bags that have done so much harm that I've experienced. We really need to clean this up.
Yeah, look, the citizens are not getting value for money. And, there are 20 odd electorates, local areas where there are currently, Labor politicians. And if about 2,000 people in each of those 20 areas were to change their vote, if they voted Labor or Greens last time and they move their vote to another party next time, that would change the government. Now many people don't realise that because the government's all powerful with all its people that it's got in terms of its communication strategies and all of those sorts of things. So they just get exposed to, what they might see on the news from time to time, or maybe in an online, paper that they have a look at from time to time. But look, the majority of people, we just want to get on with our lives, raising our families, operating our businesses, being able to make a living, leaving the planet, leaving our families, leaving our communities better off than, the way we found them. We don't want all, if we're going to have regulations on things, we want them enforced, not all the pain and hassle and cost that you and your businesses had to deal with, and it's still not resolved. We really need faster, fairer, simpler approaches to all these things. And the people, we take this work cover related thing. I hope it does go to court so that at least people can be called as witnesses, and we might get to what the truth was as to who made decisions and why they made those decisions. And if they made mistakes, say, hey, we made a mistake. But by covering it up, if this thing gets settled, you watch it on TV, the plea bargain, and it never ends up in court, I don't think that will be showing the clear light of day as to what's actually taken place to allow us to have some confidence in terms of the way the place is getting governed, and therefore the decisions we can make as business owners to get things back, get the show back on the road.
Yeah, here at The Informer, we've been following closely along the I Cook Foods saga and Ian Cook's just nightmarish result from government regulation that seems to have done nothing for anyone apart from the government and the community chef competitor that was a government funded thing. So again, Bill, thanks so much for your time from Small Business Australia. It was great to speak.
Michael, appreciate the opportunity.